All right, history lesson time. Lincoln's my favorite president. The best book I ever read on Lincoln I don't own anymore. It's called Lincoln's Melancholy, and it talks about his struggles with depression. Lincoln had several severe depressions in his life, usually after a great business failure or whatever. You know, he was a lawyer, he was a lot of things, but he had a lot of failures, including his love story, the woman he truly loved before they talked him into marrying Mary Todd. It's actually quite fascinating. But when you hear about Lincoln, when he was a young boy, he got to watch his mother die of milk fever, which was a horrible way to die, involving drinking milk from a cow that had eaten a certain kind of mushroom, and you die every 3 or 4 days, and it's apparently pretty horrific. So he got to watch his mother pass away that way, which probably damaged him for good. They also say Edgar Allan Poe. His mother was an actress who every night she died on stage when he was a little boy, and they think that might be why he was so morbid. But who knows? Anyway, I don't have Lincoln's Melancholy, but I have Lincoln the War President, which I read. It's actually a really good book. And then my husband and father-in-law highly recommended Washington the Indispensable Man, which I haven't read, but apparently you learn some cool shit about Washington in that one. Pardon my French. And of course, this is the book I learned about Civil War on as a kid. My parents had an extensive library for poor people, encyclopedias, dictionaries, medical encyclopedias. So this is why I first learned about the Civil War. And this is the book I bought on it years later, The Complete Civil War. It's always fun to kind of compare those. And that's really about it. Those are my books for the day. This is a cool book I bought, I think, like at a museum or something. But it's really just a scrapbook of Lincoln. And it's fun because, yeah, well, they tell you stupid stories, but within it are, like, things you can play with. Like, fake documents and things, like my fake money. So, like his letter to Shields and the people of the United States of Illinois, to any minister of the gospel or other authorized person, greeting these are to license and permit you to join in the holy bands of match. Oh, it's a marriage license. That's very cool. It's Lincoln's marriage license, which is an interesting story about the woman he truly was in love with, that spurned him. And Mary Todd, who was a very wealthy woman who saw slavery firsthand, and she really was the driving force behind wanting to get rid of slavery because she saw what it did. But she was often considered insane, but she also lost a lot of children, which would make you insane. So it's a good book. I don't know if they even make it anymore. It's just like a tourist book. So that's my history choices for today. A couple great presidents, Washington and Lincoln, and a war that divided our country once upon a time. And whatever side of it you were on then, you got to remember the victors write the history books. So it's important to look at original sources, is what I learned. I read a book called something about the lies they teach, everything I need to learn in kindergarten, something, the lies, the text. I don't remember. I'll look it up. But the idea is textbooks are not a good way to go. They're usually digested content that often alienates the people they're teaching. So whenever possible, go to original sources. Letters home from soldiers at war, letters to soldiers at war from home. There truly are some amazing parts of history, but you got to go to the OG sources. Not that books aren't great that sum it up, but like I told my son when he came and told me he heard there was a silver triangle under the Bermuda, a silver pyramid under the Bermuda Triangle that was causing all the problems. I said, "Where'd you hear that?" And I introduced him to Snopes.com. I don't know if they're legit anymore, but in school we learned 3 sources. You can find 3 original sources, not a dictionary, not Wikipedia. If you go to dictionary.com, and a lot of those you'll find, they all source back to Wikipedia. So truly, the internet is a great resource, but don't read the digested material. Go find the OG sources. They're everywhere. Their microfiches have been translated online. There's so much available where you can make your perceptions of history, make up your own mind, because the stories are different than you think. A lot of them are very different than you think. Ulysses S. Grant was a great general. He was a terrible president, and his presidency was rife with his cronies and corruption. Helen Keller was a communist. She saw what happened in the Industrial Revolution to people that were blinded and left without a way to make an income. So she was really against a lot of things, and that's kind of been whitewashed, if you will, out of the history books, because it wasn't popular to be a communist at the time. Helen was. So just hear their stories, either the stories from the past or the people you meet now. Listen to what people have to say about their experience before you judge it. I think it's a good way to learn about yourself. And that's history lesson for today. So I'm going to go write some poetry and smoke some cigarettes and maybe read a book on healthy life choices. Bye.